right, let me set the stage here on what I'm working on. This is a sandblasting cabinet's light box. Inside of here would be the light. This is the electronic unit that gets screwed inside of this cabinet with the off-on switch. Little did I know that the incandescent light bulbs that clip into here are no longer being made. And now we've got to go buy LED lights, and they're a little bigger, and so that means we get to modify that to get those to fit. But hey, I'm always up for a good project. That does lead me, though, to the next subject at hand. There's some other electrical problems. Look at that extension cord all burned out. Whoops. Yes, that's a motorcycle in my living room. But we're not going to talk about that right now. If you turn around and look this way, I'll show you what we're going to talk about. Oh, hey. You're back. Okay, so let's talk about this extension cord again. The end that burned out, it is when you look really close here, you see it's the white wire, which means this is the return side or the neutral side. And then you look on the other side and that's the black wire, so that's the hot wire. So it's like the juice is coming in, completes the circuit, comes back out. And this is a really nice cord. It's thicker gauged. Well, hey, hello. But I got to thinking, why in the world would this be getting hot and burning out like that? And I was looking at the cord and I realized that before this burned out, this ground terminal broke off. And the purpose of a ground terminal or a ground system in your house is that when the extra juice that's making the circuit in your drill battery charger, in your toaster, in your blender, whatever, the extra juice that's not being used, which there probably are like resistors and things in the circuit board, kind of limiting what's getting through to the appliance you're using so it doesn't burn it out. You know, so there is that limit. Well, that limit has to dump off somewhere. It can't just go positive to negative and loop back out. It has to dump into the ground. And we literally have ground rods outside of our house to dump some of that power into. Well, I'm thinking this is a perfect example of what happens when we don't have a complete circuit to dump off that extra power. It gets hot on the return circuit and starts to burn stuff out. So let's get into this. Let me show you how we're going to fix it for Josh's sake. So all we got to do is go down to the hardware store and get yourself a couple of ends like this. And these are actually made and designed to repair extension cords when they wear out. So we don't have to throw these away. I mean, these are expensive. This is an $80 extension cord right now at Menards. If you go to Ace Hardware, 100-foot extension cord now is like $115, $120. So we need to be able to fix our own stuff, right? So let's get into this. I'll show you how to do it. The key to doing this right and doing it in a way that everything's electrically safe when we're done repairing this cord is to paying attention to what we have. So when I have this new end, I can see that the white wire comes in on the right side and the black wire comes in on the left side. And so I want to make sure that I hook up this new receptacle end the same. So I'm actually going to go on here and just put a B. We know this is the black side right there. Whoa, see, I already messed it up. Let's get rid of that. This is the white side, and this is the black side. Okay, see? Got to pay attention. It gets screwy when you're flipping these things around and working on them. Okay, now I know that I got the right side set to the correct side. And let's make sure that W really looks like a W. Okay, cool. Now we're set. And I want to do the same thing on this plug. So we got the visual here. Looks like the cord should have been like that, right? And we're going to put in this new ground terminal. So this time the B goes on the right side and the W goes on the left side so that we're matching everything and we got it squared up right. Now, if you buy a fancy one of these, they will be labeled inside with the white one will at least be labeled. This particular brand that I bought doesn't have the labeling. I checked out the inside. So that's why I'm doing my own tagging. I guess I assumed it was by default, but I should mention that the only other wire that's left is the green wire. That's the ground wire, and that's what's going to attach to this. Now, I want to do this kind of low-budget style because some of you don't have a ton of tools, and if you're watching this video, you might not have a ton of resources laying around, but you will need some sort of a side cutters. I don't think just a classic old utility knife is going to be real successful at cutting through these. If you do have to just use a utility knife, be really careful and don't cut towards yourself or anything, because you will eventually get through with a utility knife, but it's going to require some extra work and everything's going to be kind of messy. So I'd highly recommend just grabbing a side cutters if you have one available and popping that off like that. Even your needle nose has a little side cutter piece in it that might work. And these old school pliers, you know, like the kind that Grandpa used to keep in his back pocket, they have a little side cutter notch in there too. Both of these types of wrenches, those side cutters are pretty small, so it's hard to really get in there. But it could work, all right? You might get the job done. One of the most important things when putting a new end on an extension cord is to remember which pieces need to slide over the cord. So we got this end like this, and you could be like, I mean, I realize these unscrew, but some of these are more of a clip and a plastic circle. So remember to get all the bits and bobs that need to go on this cord on there before we even start thinking about getting in here and wiring it up. So for this next part, we want to envision how much wire we need to strip back and how much of the three ends do we need to peel back the coating on so that it properly fits inside of here. So looks to me like if we're having our ends be about there, and then this tucks in like that, and of course this end is going to kind of tuck up and it sits about there in caps, right? So it looks to me that I want my wires stripped back to about the middle here. So I'm going to strip off about 2 inches. We'll say like right there is about where I'm going to strip this back to, and then I'll start cleaning up the coating on the inside of those wires. Now when I'm doing this, I am not trying to cut into all the wiring, right? And so maybe some of the way that makes it a little bit better at not cutting through the coating of the internal wire is to do something like this, where we cut along the edge. And so we know we want to be about there, and we can just scar this. And so now we can peel it like this, and okay, there's about where my cut stopped. Now I can see what's going on inside of here, okay? And then I'm going to cut up and away from the wires because I don't want to cut the coating. And see, the way this is, it's kind of cheap and it kind of pulls. So once you start getting it going, it will start to, you know, peel away. And then you just got to do a pull back and then a little cut off like this, like that. All right. So now we have ourselves a good start on where we want to be. Now I'm going to clean these wires off. So I am going to strip this back, and then I'm going to spin the wire, and then I'm going to bend it into a hook so that I can wrap it around these screws and then tighten that plate. So I actually want my wire to hook into that screw and then like have some resistance or some hold so that I don't ever pull this end off of the extension cord. All right, let's get some visual here. You can kind of see how the wire is going to tuck in right there, and the wire is going to tuck in right there. And like I said, I'm going to try to get it to hook and bend around. So I'm going to cut my coating back, I'm going to say about 3/4 of an inch, and that should give me what I need. So usually I like to pull back the ones I'm not going to work on. We're going to start on this green one. We'll go about to where we want to be, and this is kind of like you know, cutting carrots or something like that. You take the blade and you set it on the wire. You're not trying to cut the wire, obviously. We're just trying to get through the green. So I cut that ring around, and now I'm going to pull it down like this. And we're going to see if I got through on that first cut. I should have myself a pretty nice cut back, and see, it just peels away. And then that. And now we're going to spin this around real nice. We want to make this look like a nice twisted braid. This is a nice heavy wire. I like this. And then we'll give it a little hook, and that should stick right in to that terminal and hook around. When I screw it down tight, it'll hold and stay in there. I'm going to do that on the next ones now. All right, now's the fun part. Now remember, before we get any further, let's make sure we've got the housing on the back there. And now we can grab our pieces here, this front piece. And if we remember how we're going to do it, it's going to look, it's white on this side, black on this side, and green at the bottom. So we'll start putting that together. Sometimes it's fun to kind of show the strategy. So I'm going to take this screw all the way out. And you can kind of see it popping like that. Oh yeah, and my tip is magnetic on that screwdriver. That helps a little bit to help pull it out. But what I'm getting at is then I take my black wire and I shove it in there like that. And then bring the screw back in. And come around down to the top and tighten it up. And then that is a nice clip on there. See that? Just like that one's nicely clipped in there too. So it's real strong. And you want to give it a good pull. And we're going to give it a good pull once we get done and have the back clip and everything on it too. We want to make sure this is going to hold and not come apart. So same concept with the green. It's going to come in here and sit like that. Get everything shaped right. Looks pretty good. It's going to go under there. So we'll take this screw out. And the nut sits down in there. So I need to get this wire to scoot in and then bring the plate over top of it. Stick it in as far as we can. Maybe sometimes you got to use something to persuade it a little bit. Just a little bit. There we go. And then bring that over top. Now the screw is going to come in and screw in. There we go. All right. Not bad. You want to get those nice and tight. Okay. That's great. And we got this here. Next step is going to be to put this deal on the face of it. See how that's going to line up? And that works through tightening these 3 screws. When you look down in this cover, there are 3 screw holes in there. And so we've got to line up the right points in there, screw hole, screw hole, screw hole, with the other points so that everything sits down together. And that way, when we take this, and they're all sitting there like that, we put it on the face, check everything, make sure it's nice. We'll sit this like that. That's sitting on the face. And I'll start with 1. We'll screw that in. Well, it's not quite right because it's not lining up. It should just grab right away. And the threads are rather coarse on these. It's interesting how I think they grip really nice. So that's in there good like that. Okay. I'm going to put the next one in. Screw that one down. You want to feel some pretty good resistance. This one, this particular outlet end, or this cord end, is plastic. So you can't reef on this like you might tighten a metal. Like the wires inside, I could tighten a lot more than I can this plastic housing. Okay, so now that's on there like that. And feels good, but we can make it even stronger by putting this collar on. And then we can tighten this. And that'll clamp this unit to this wire and help it so it never comes apart. All right. So that just goes on there. Sometimes I'm a little OCD and I like to turn things so that they're kind of, you know, squared up. So there's my plug-in, and then there's my collar, and then we'll tighten this all together in some sort of, maybe it doesn't matter. I know that the design on this rubber doesn't care which way I turn that, but for my own peace of mind, I feel like it just looks a little cleaner to have this in line with these terminals. When we look at it and we see how much it's squished. Is it squished in there good? I think I'm going to go a little tighter. Just a little more. Oh. Yup. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Huh. You can kind of see the symmetry. I think this side needs to be tighter if I want them to be symmetrical. There we go. Look at that. Just look at it. Looks good. Okay. So this side is ready to rock. But if now that this is replaced, if we don't fix the other end with the missing ground, I would imagine this is going to burn out in short order again. So let's work on this one. Same process. We're going to pay attention. We've got the setup is like this, and I've already marked it. The B is for the black wire on that side, and the white, I know it's a permanent marker, but I can see the shimmer in the light. The white is on the left, and it sits like that. And of course, the green will be the ground wire on the bottom. All right, then since we know where everything's going to be, we can give this the old snipperoo. That's satisfying, let me tell you. All right, now that we know how this is going to go together, then we can take this apart and see how long we want to cut the wire back. So we take that like that, and we stick this in here. All right, yep, something like that. And then these wires are going to go in there, and they're going to curve around like the last set. And then this one sits flush. So if it sits, yep, it sits flush in there. So I'm going to say that I'm going to do about the same on the internal wires, like, 3/4 of an inch. But as far as my green outer coating, I'm going to cut it right about to here. So if we pull that away, all right, right about to there is where I'm going to cut it off. I'll bring back my shortbread finger box here that I previously enjoyed the entire contents of. That was delicious. So again, we're just barely scouring the exterior of this because we do not want to cut the wires on the inside. So we're just scouring the edge a little bit, and then we'll do this cut down the whole way, just scouring it. So we're not cutting anything in the inside. And that way we can peel it open, peel it around. There we go. Okay. And then we'll start trimming these back, just like we did before. All right. So we got to be sure we got this on, and we know where that's going to be. Right there. That's good. We got everything set there. We got these twisted up nice. Now let's see how this goes. I like to drop the screws out when I'm working, just so they're not bumbling and fumbling around. Now we got to pay attention to this, and the way we set it up was, okay, so black wires on the side towards me, so we'll start with that one. It looks to me like I can do pretty much the same process. I'll loosen this up. Oh, this one's nicer. I love when the clips are on the top side, because now we can go like this. We can pull the clip away. We don't even, I like to work on the cloth. Got that there. Okay, and then we'll make the hook. Just like that. Make a good gripping hook for it to grab onto. Then we'll bring this little piece of steel over top. There we go. Nice. Nice and good and tight. All right. This is about the time you double check. Make sure you got your collar on, because we got one wire in, and it's not the easiest little song and dance, so you don't want to undo stuff to put it back together. Now, looking at this one, I'm right-handed, so I think I'm going to hook it like this. Stick it over into the little home it wants to be in. Start tightening it down. Okay, that looks good. Good one. Okay. Now, when we got that nice and together, we got to, just like the last one, look down in there and find home. And from what I can tell, home is right there. And there might be, is there a tell? There is a tell. You see this notch right here? Well, there's a notch in there too, And so that's your tell. Goes like that. Okay? So that's in there. That's in there. Now we grab our screws, drop them in, and find home. Well, that one's going in pretty nice. It's like it's excited to be together. And this one, same thing maybe, huh? Look at that. See? This isn't too tough, and we can save our extension cords, and we can make our home living situation safer. I am always paying attention to what's plugged in. Is the cord plugged in right? Just pay attention to your electrical stuff, because the last thing we want to do is have some sort of electrical fire in any way, shape, or form. So that's together right there. This little project, less than $10, is definitely worth its time. So just to finish this out, we'll take off one of the screws so that this collar spins around. Clips, and then I'll put it back in, and then, you know, my OCD is kicking in, so I'm going to spin it around so that my terminals are level and the screws are level, and then we'll start tightening this up. Yeah, pretty easy. Let's see how tight we want to get this. Now again, this is metal, so we can tighten this more, and it is good because it'll help hold it. These are the plastic ones we don't want to tighten as much, because those screws can probably eat out that plastic little nut that's inside of there, or plastic collar it's screwing into. Alright, so we're checking the depth. Looks like this one needs to be a little tighter. Yeah, another 2 maybe. Okay, looks good. Pull. Oh yeah. Alright, that's nice. Should we see if it works? Let's plug this thing in. Alright, what we're going to use to test it is this cool old Craftsman drill with this cylinder hone in it. Oh yeah, you remember that motorcycle you were gawking at earlier? And I had to be like, hey, come on, we got a project to do? Yeah, I use this to hone the cylinders on that particular motorcycle. I also got to race that motorcycle too. That was a lot of fun and a whole nother story. Well, hey, thanks for watching Fix It for Josh's sake. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, give me a follow, give me a comment, tell me what you're working on. You know, we got to do this stuff. It's fun. It's a good way to enjoy life. So thanks for watching Fix It for Josh's sake.